Welcome to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction Title I Shorts, a technical assistance web series to help make sense of the world of Title I. In this Title I Shorts, we will review what is required by districts in terms of public school enrollment. This video will take approximately 5 minutes to complete. Audio is available for this video. Please have the appropriate speakers or headphones to listen. Please visit the Title I page on the DPI website for more resources and information on this and other Title I topics.
When completing a Title I Part A grant application in WISE grants, local education agencies, or LEAs, are required to enter enrollment for their public schools. Enrollment is a head count of students receiving primary education services from an LEA.
When entering public enrollment data, districts must use a consistent count date across all public schools. The law does not prescribe a specific date on which an enrollment count must be completed. However, in Wisconsin, enrollment numbers are usually taken from the second semester count, usually the second Friday in January of the previous school year. Some districts also use the third Friday count, the third Friday in September of the current school year. However, as Title I, Part A grant applications generally must be submitted before this date. The January count date is more common and acceptable.
Regardless of the date chosen for an enrollment count, LEAs must use the same date and method of counting students for all public schools. LEAs are required to enter the date used for the count. It is also essential that the private school enrollment count is done as close to the public school count as possible. This means that if the public school enrollment count was from January of the previous school year, then the private school enrollment count should be from around that same time as well. It is necessary for the LEA to communicate the public school enrollment count date to private schools and to ensure the private schools are also able to do an enrollment count around the same time.
Students between kindergarten and grade 12 must be included in the public enrollment count, regardless of age. An LEA can choose to add pre-K and 4K enrollment but are not required to do so. If an LEA chooses to include pre-K and 4K students, they must do this consistently across the LEA. Students in virtual schools are counted the same as students attending other schools in the LEA.
Within the Title I application, LEAs will indicate the poverty measure source they use to determine low-income enrollment counts. The options for an LEA to report the data include the National School Lunch Act, which includes the free and reduced lunch and the community eligibility provision, Wisconsin Works, Medicaid, U.S. Census Bureau, or a composite of several measures. LEAs that have implemented the Community Eligibility Provision, or CEP, in one or more schools in their LEA must use a common poverty metric for entering low-income pupil enrollment. Thanks for joining us today. As always, for specific questions, please reach out to your district Title I consultant or your CSED Network Title I consultant. Please take a moment to provide us with feedback on this video and what you are interested in hearing about more on future videos.